Hello everyone, my name is Hubert and welcome to Teach Me channel. Today we'll be looking at GCSE Biology Cell Organization. So today I will cover how the cells in our body organize into these specific stages of organization, should we call them, and I will also give you a little quick trick of how to remember definitions here involved in this topic really easily. So, by the way, I'm ill today, so if my voice sounds weird, that's probably why. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so our body of course needs to perform so many different functions. We need to be able to digest our food, we need to be able to send electrical impulses across our body through the nervous system. We need to be able to, think, we need to be able to learn, we need to be able to get rid of our waste substances in our body. We have so many of these different functions that we need to be able to perform. And of course, in order to be able to do that, we have all these different organizations of the cells. The cells are the most basic unit of our body. And we need to be able to organize those cells into progressively more complex structures that allow us to perform all these different functions that we need to be able to do in our body. So let's get into it. So the first most basic structure in a human body is cell, of course. And now cells can perform many different functions. In fact, cells differentiate in order to be able to perform all these different functions. Each cell can differentiate and it can perform a different function that it's specially designed for. So, for example, we can have epithelial cells, we can have neurons, we can have glandular cells, we can have goblet cells, there's so many, we have egg cells, there are so many different types of cells that are designed to perform their function. Now, what if we need to perform some more complex function? Well, we need to get a group of cells because one cell is not going to be able to run the entire body. So the cells need to group up. So we need to, if we want to perform a certain function in our body, we need to group the cells together in order to be able to perform a function into a tissue. So we group the cells into tissues. So for example, we have epithelial cells, and then we group them together to form an epithelial tissue that will perform a function. In this case, it will maintain a structural integrity. So we can group those cells into tissues. So cells, on the lowest stage, we have cells. Then we go to tissue, which is a group of cells working together to perform a certain function. Now, a tissue may contain cells of the same type working together to perform a function, but tissue can also contain cells of different types. So a tissue in a stomach could contain mucus-secreting cells, etc. So here, as an example, I use epithelial tissue that in this case seems to have only epithelial cells. But there are other tissues in a stomach, There are other tissues, because we're going to be talking about stomach. So now there are other tissues such as glandular tissues and muscular tissues. So these perform different functions. And that's how we separate tissues. So now we have a group of cells performing a certain function, which is called a tissue. Then we can have a group of tissues performing even more complex task. So we are going from tissues to organs. Organ is a group of tissues that work together to perform a certain function. So basically, the further down we go this chain, the more complex these functions become. So here we have So for example, we have epithelial cell at the cell stage, where that cell basically needs to survive. It needs to communicate with other cells and essentially exist because it's going to be forming a structural integrity. So it just needs to exist and stick to other cells. Very simple. Then we get a tissue, which is tasked with maintaining an integrity of a stomach. So now it's a bit more complex because it needs to deal with stomach acid, it needs to deal with outside influences. So it's a bit more complex task. And now we're going to an organ. An example of an organ is stomach. And now stomach has even more complex function. It actually needs to digest food. So it consists of several tissues, each of those tissues performing a function. So we have epithelial tissue. Stomach also has a glandular tissue, which has glands. So that tissue releases hormones that govern the stomach, that tell the stomach what to do. And that tissue also releases enzymes, which allows the stomach to digest the food, digest the more complex molecules, as we already discussed in a couple of videos ago. Now, stomach also has a muscular tissue. It has literal muscle cells forming a muscular tissue, which makes the stomach contract and relax in order to sort of smash up all that food inside it and to break that food down. So it has a set of tissues coming together to allow it to perform a certain more complex function. So once we get past the organ level of cellular organization, we need to move on to organ systems. So organ systems are groups of organs coming together to perform a function the same. Now, since we are talking about stomach, so the stomach is a part of digestive system alongside other organs such as liver, such as pancreas, such as small intestine, large intestine, and all of these organs work together to digest food. And now we are getting even more complex because we need to digest the food. So we need to take that food in. So we have our mouth and our esophagus. So we need to deliver that food to the stomach, which is going to break it down. Liver is going to remove the toxins. Liver is also going to provide bile, which is important later on. Pancreas is also important for digestion in this case as well, because it will help the body it will release pancreatic juices, which help with lipids and things like that. So all these organs are coming together to help stomach digest that food, and then that food gets put through small intestine, which absorbs the nutrients, because there will be no point digesting the food without taking nutrients. So small intestine takes up the nutrients, and then the food gets put through large intestine, which takes out all the water from the food, and then the rest of the food is excreted. The waste, essentially, that we can't deal with is excreted. So that requires more than just a stomach. That's why we have organ system. So that's a group of organs coming together to perform a certain function. So let's just quickly recap this before we move on. So we have 4 different levels of cellular structure, starting with cells, which perform very simple tasks, but then they can band together to form tissues, which perform slightly more complex tasks and may require more than one cell type in some cases. And then bunch of tissues get together to form organs, which perform even more complex tasks and may require multiple tissues. And then organs get together to form organ systems, such as digestive system, which perform the ultimate important task that the body needs to perform. And obviously examples of of other organ systems, would be nervous system or reproductive system. Those are examples of other organ systems that also contain multiple organs. So this is it on cell organization, but before we finish for today, I will show you a little trick of how to remember these different definitions of what is tissue, what is organ, and what is organ system, how to easily remember those definitions. So let's move on to that. Okay, so here I got a little outline of definition for all these different things. So I'm going to read it out. An X is a group of Y working together to perform a particular function. So because definition of organ and organ system and tissues is so similar, we can use the same sort of template here to describe every level of the cellular organization. So, for example, an organ is a group of tissues working together to perform a particular function. And likewise, an organ system is a group of organs working together to perform a particular function. So so if you can remember that sort of template, then you just have to plug in the correct levels of that cellular organization, and you get a nice definition that you can use in an exam. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching my video. I really appreciate when you guys watch my videos. If you want to stay up to date on daily math, science and biomedical science videos, hit the subscribe button below. Also, by the way, we have opened up a new Twitter channel, so if you want to check out our Twitter channel, I will post the link to the channel in the description below. But also, if you go on our channel page, you can see a little mark on the right hand side from the banner, and that contains a link that will take you straight to our Twitter channel. Check it out. We have some great content there, some videos, but also some other content such as freebies for your result days that are coming up soon and things as such. So make sure you check it out. Thank you again for listening, and see you next time.